Hello, welcome to the podcast. So, today, what I wanted to talk about is actually something new. I was supposed to, or Marty and I were supposed to drop for you the relationship podcast where we talk about all things in our relationship. It could apply to friends, partners, spouse, whatever the case may be, but we talk about where we mess it up and where we got it right and what are the things that we really, kind of called BS on, whether ourselves or each other, in order to get it right. And so you'll hear that one next week. Awesome. It's an awesome one. If you struggle in relationships or you haven't found the right person yet, or if you're in a marriage and you are struggling, we were there. I encourage you to listen to that one next week or watch it on YouTube, however you find us. This week, I really just wanted to, as I said, kind of call that audible and talk about fear. It is something that just kind of has been weighing on my mind over the last couple of days and felt like it was something that I needed to address. So if this is for you, if it resonates for you, then awesome. I hope so. Drop something in the comments, message me, let me know. If you need or want more of it, great. I am always here for this kind of topic. So here's what I've got. Fear, and specifically fear, like we're not talking fear of bugs. I don't like bugs. I definitely don't like bugs. We are talking about fear of rejection and failure and how this plays out. So I'm going to really just kind of dive in personally and talk about how it has impacted me, what are some of the things that I've had to do, and really, again, kind of what are some of the techniques that have gotten me past the hump, or when fear kind of tries to creep in, because it will, what are the things that I come back to? So I think fear affects most of us. I think that if we're really honest, in some way, shape, or form, it really does. So what's my story in this? Well, the first question that I'll ask is there anything that fear has held you back from? And we'll probably honestly say kind of a duh. Yeah, for sure it's held me back from things. So think about how often. Because as I sit here, I talk about this a lot. I'm sure I'll say it again, but I feel like I'm about halfway through my life. I'm 44, gonna be 45 in just a couple of months. Longevity in my family, so I'm going with halfway, even though there's no guarantee. And that no guarantee, trust me, that stays pretty fresh with me to really just live each day. But I don't want to get to whenever it is, whenever my last day is. I don't want to get there and regret. I think that would be just the most disappointing thing. Like, that would be the worst thing that really I could feel at the end of my life. Maybe that's not the same for you. Maybe you don't feel that way. But regret for not doing all of the things that I wanted to do. Maybe it's saying the things, doing the things, experiencing things, whatever that looks like for you. But for me, it really is, in a nutshell, did I let fear hold me back from things? Yeah. So I'm guilty. And here, as I said, is my story of one time that it happened. So prior to my current career as an entrepreneur, I worked in corporate America, and I was pretty far up in a financial corporation, and I decided that someone approached me about network marketing, and really just kind of painted the picture of where it made sense, and I was a big fan. I was a big fan of the product, big fan of the company, and what they stood for. And listen, it's residual income. If you are one of those people that still thinks it's a scam or some kind of pyramid scheme, I would encourage you to do some homework. And also, if there's a particular company, check around to other companies, because if they are regulated, then it's not a pyramid scheme, it's not a scam. If they're a member of the DSA, the Direct Selling Association. So that's a total side note. Anyway, so I totally bought into, in a good way, the idea of residual income. I don't want to work for the rest of my life. I want to do things that matter. I want to have financial and time freedom, etc. So I got it. It totally made sense, and I jumped on it. So I decided to add it to my LinkedIn profile. And it was interesting. When I thought about doing it, I'll be honest, very different. Corporate America, many people don't really understand network marketing. Some people still associate a bad stigma with it. Oh, so-and-so lost all this money on it. Well, were they doing it correctly? What did it look like? That kind of thing. Can it happen? Sure. But if you do it right, then it shouldn't happen. So anyway, I went ahead and did it anyway. I added it to my LinkedIn profile. I felt that it reflected that I was smart. I was seeking additional opportunities while still working my full-time job. And again, in corporate America, at a leadership position, at a senior leadership position. And I felt that residual income path and, kind of plan of attack was smart. So after about a week, a friend of mine that I worked with called me to his office, and we were chatting about a couple of things. And he said, by the way, I'm just going to tell you this because I care about you, and we were friends at the time, and I don't want you to be embarrassed or be made fun of or whatever, but I want you to know. Someone else in the company took my new business venture and emailed it out to about a dozen of his kind of friends, I guess, at the company, mocking me. So it's kind of funny now. I was shocked, though. Shocked at the time. Now, I will tell you that it's a shame that that was where his mindset was. That he didn't understand it, and really it's a shame that his choice was to, I guess, scour LinkedIn for updates of people that he knew and then make fun of him, that person, to his friends like we're all still in middle school and in the playground yard at recess. That aside, at the time, it really impacted me. Really impacted me. Like, to the point that I actually took it down. Like, I took it off my LinkedIn, and I'd had a ton of other people, hey, congratulations on the new venture, even other people that I worked with that were at that level. Congratulations, good luck, blah, blah, blah. And that one person that I was not even friends with, him mocking me, I actually took it off LinkedIn, and I really didn't do anything else with the business, because I, at the time, thought, well, I was just basically rejected, and by someone that I didn't even um, talk to about it. And further, what if I wasn't a success now and they were at it and people were already laughing at me and I hadn't even started yet? Crazy, right? So I had this fear of rejection and failure kind of in my face. That was probably about 4 years ago now. So fast forward to this time last year, to January of 2019, and I had just come back from Kenya, from my trip to Kenya, the 2 week trip. If you missed last week's episode talking to Abby at Blue Door sponsorship, check that out. That was where I went, who I went with, kind of all of the goods. It was really life-changing. So this time last year, I had just come back from Kenya, and I'd been really thinking for really probably 4 or 5 months prior to this trip that I wasn't necessarily happy in my job. Now, I liked some of the people, and I was doing business optimization or process improvement, and I really liked that, and I really enjoyed being a leader. But maybe the challenge, the spark, whatever you want to call it, the impact, really, actually, I'll just drop it to that. I didn't feel like I was making an impact. Like, in the company, any money saved was really just going to the company bottom line. It wasn't coming back to me in any way. It wasn't making a difference for, maybe it was making some people's lives better at work, which was kind of the thing that I held on to, but it wasn't necessarily changing the world. And again, almost 45, I really wanted to do something that had greater impact, something that would really change the world. I know, I'm cheesy, but what can I say? That's where I was. So I came back from Kenya and felt like an alien my first day back to work. It was such a dramatic culture shock difference between Kenya and work. And I just knew that I wasn't supposed to be there for very long. While I was in Kenya, very strong, like almost spoken out loud, kind of strong nudging or knowledge that God was just saying to me that I wasn't going to be at that company much longer. And while I knew that I wanted more, I was kind of petrified of that for the few months prior. If I leave, what will happen? I don't want to go to another company that's like it. Same industry like it. So what will I do? It's not like I'm just going to stay home kind of thing. And so having that realization in Kenya that it wasn't going to be much longer, and then coming back and feeling so vastly different in the work environment, that not a shock. By Thursday of that same week, my boss called me into her office and laid me off. So there were a couple of people, but at that time, we just weren't making our numbers as a company, and the interest rates were expected to go through the roof in all the bad ways when you're in mortgage. So they were really trying to cut costs and find some savings, and my job was one of them. So where did that find me? I kind of had a choice of what was next. Who do I want to be? How do I want to live? What do I want to spend my time doing? And it really wasn't mortgage. Again, I loved being a leader. I loved helping people realize their full potential, whether it was in my area or department or not. I loved that. Super rewarding, super satisfying. And I did still love I did still love process improvement. I enjoyed the opportunity to really take a look at things and figure out if there's a better way to do it, because again, that is impacting the way people live or work. So if you haven't guessed it yet, that's my jam. Wherever I can help other people to live better, that's what I want it to be. So here I sit, laid off from my job with a small severance, and just knowing that I want to make a difference. So insert Arbonne. It was a company that I had already actually in December thought that I needed to do again. And it's a company that I completely believe in. The vision for Arbonne is just this. We believe everyone can flourish by being good to themselves, their community, and the planet. You kind of can't go wrong with that mantra. And I'd been using the products for about 13 years. So I was already convinced about the products. But to me, this wasn't about the products at all. This was about the opportunity to give someone hope, to give them a chance to make a change in their life, maybe change their belief about themselves, or bring in extra money for themselves, or just change their career altogether, maybe leave that job that they hate. Maybe not. Maybe they love their job and they want to do it right alongside, but that's a chance to, again, give hope and change someone's life. So I'm down with that, right? Again, that's kind of who I am. Except here's the thing. So I was mocked before, and now I have to decide if that's going to define me. If I'm going to let that fear of rejection and failure spike back up. So this was, again, January of last year, so a year ago. So I really decided I'm not going to let fear hold me back. It's not worth it. Because when you have that moment of fear, I really would encourage you to think about what's on the other side of that fear. Because first, chances are that it's probably not as hard as you thought it was going to be to get past it, or it's not even real, whatever you're afraid of, or that you actually have everything inside of you to move on. Maybe if you just gave it an extra 3 feet or an extra couple months. There's a story about a miner digging for gold, and very short story that I'm going to shorten it, is that he stopped. He found some gold. He stopped 3 feet before the major gold. He sold all of his equipment, frustrated that he wasn't finding more. He'd been digging for so long, blah, 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 and sold it all to a guy in town. The guy in town went back to the engineers. They said, go 3 more feet. And he did. And it was well more gold than the other gentleman had found. I think perseverance is a huge, huge thing. But here it is. So we are, in effect, doing something, whether you're an entrepreneur or you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want a promotion, or you want to really anything different from the norm. You can think of it like this. Like if you visualize for a second that there is a marching line of people. Now, whatever you want them to look like, but even more than a line, however many deep, there's lines of marching people, and they're going to their job. They're going to school. They're doing whatever the norm is in maybe your life or in their life. And the only way to really chase the dream is to step outside of that line, to take a step, essentially creating a new line all by yourself. Imagine no one around you. Everyone is behind you. So now everyone turns and sees that you've stepped out of line. And it typically will wig them out. They'll make fun of you, as I encountered. They won't understand it. You know, there's any number of things there, but only the other people that are willing to step out of line and chase their dreams will understand it and cheer you on and support you, encourage you. At least not make fun of you, not any of that. So suddenly you're different. What do? Here's what I did. All the books. Marty makes fun of me often that I am a very avid book reader. I used to be, and I don't really read fiction. Long ago and far away, I read mystery, but dropped that and started going for nonfiction. And a huge believer in it. I had stopped for a while, and I think it was because really I had stopped seeking growth in myself because I was a little scared of it. So, of what it might look like, again, that fear really crept in. So, I've started reading all of the books. I have one, you can't actually see it for those of you watching on the channel, but I actually have multiple books up above me and on a shelf. Mindset by Carol Dweck is a great one. All In, another great one. Ryan Holiday, Stillness is the Key. Great. There's some great books that I have read. And I have done it because when you step out, you need to change the space that you're living in. I love, there is a quote that Zig Ziglar, or a line that Zig Ziglar had said before. People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Right? Motivation doesn't last. Motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing. That's why we do it daily. Right? Yes. Because otherwise that is when you let that fear creep in. Because your brain is so risk averse often. Change can be scary that it's like, oh, no, I'll just pull back from that. Except here's the thing, when you pull back from that, you don't do the thing that you were created to do. What if Steve Jobs pulled back from that? Everybody has an iPhone. Okay, I don't. I like the Google Pixel, but I was an iPhone user for a very long time. Or Bill Gates, right? Like, what if these people pulled back? Like, you could insert anyone that you look up to or admire and think, because you probably do for a reason, that they have a quality that you, or that courage or bravery that you wish you had in certain situations. What if they pulled back? So it kind of ties in. Surround yourself with people that are okay and willing to support that they understand it. Because when you do step out and you hit a speed bump, it can be hard. And you need someone to say, stand up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Because that's not your finish line. This right here where you fell, it's not your finish line. Keep going. So the next thing, I'm a big fan of gratitude for sure. on a daily basis, I can tell if I am not aware or writing it down. Writing it down really is a big thing for me. And then I would say my Peloton. And this probably sounds funny, but for me, what the Peloton is and does is it enables me to, on a daily basis, push further and longer than I thought I could. So hear me out on this, because the Peloton, for those of you that don't know, it's basically an exercise bike that you have in your home, and there's a screen in front of it so that you can attend a class live or do a recorded class. But I'm a huge fan. I love it. If you've never heard of it, go get yourself one and you're welcome. Or go at least get the app and you're welcome. But the Peloton, so what I was doing initially, we just got it probably about 7 months ago. And what I was doing initially was, there are like 20-minute classes, 30-minute classes, 45-minute classes, some 60, but for the most part, I stayed in that 20 to 45, mostly 30 to 45, but there were definitely times 20 to 45-minute classes. And all of a sudden, I realized that I had dropped down from doing mostly 45-minute classes to 30-minute classes, just for like, oh, I'll just get it done. Just get it done. Like, and I'll just be quick so that way I can move on to the next thing. Okay. I'm not sure that that totally made sense as I thought about it and realized that I'm not getting any stronger. I'm really just maintaining. So Marty and I started a little competition actually on the bike. Peloton does challenges, monthly, yearly challenges that really are awesome. It really inspires you and motivates you, to encourages you, whatever, to push yourself and go forward a little bit more than you would already. So I went from doing a 30-minute class feeling like, yo, that was good, you know, a good workout, I'm sweaty, whatever, to an 80-minute. So there aren't 80-minute classes, so I had to do a couple of them to add up to that. So I really had to be actually intentional about trying. And it's not like I thought about it and in that fear of failure, I didn't stop to think like, what if I can't do the last one? What if I'm not able to, what if I'm too tired or whatever? I just thought when I kept adding on that I am stronger than this, and I won't get stronger until I keep going and keep pushing and either know my line or create new ones. So the Peloton was huge, and it doesn't have to be the Peloton, obviously, but physical tests are really a great difference maker. I am a huge fan of how much they teach you that you can actually do, because they are mental. It's for the most part. So barring if you are disabled in some way, shape, or form, that is different. But if you are normally abled, I hate to even say it that way, then if there's no physical ailments, or, and I don't mean like, oh I'm tired, like that's not a physical ailment, or I have a headache, well, you could do it later. I mean that you're just physically unable to ride or unable to do a exercise of some kind, because they are mental. You do have to push yourself to get to that next level. So it's a good teacher of what you're actually capable of, especially when you put yourself into a box. I think I'm a fan of Dave Hollis. He says it a lot. When he started running and felt before that he was not a runner, that he essentially had to rewire his brain. Like, well, if I'm now a runner and I didn't think I was, what else am I that I didn't think I could do? So again, that is just a great example of, kind of realizing what you're capable of. And the last part, and this is really one of the big items, is to visualize it. And this might sound hokey to anyone that has never kind of heard about this idea before, or maybe didn't grow up listening to things like this, or not reading books that spoke to it, but here we are. So I am a big fan also of Mel Robbins. I'm telling you, I've read all the books this year. And Mel Robbins, if you're not familiar with her, go follow her. She is fantastic. She wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. You could Google that. She did a TED Talk on it, but her book is far better. The TED Talk was very short. And the book, the idea is about, basically counting down when you don't feel like doing something. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and kind of blast off. She calls it like NASA, I believe, that you're launching yourself out of bed when the alarm goes off and you don't feel like getting out of bed. But that's actually not what I wanted to talk about with the visualization. So the thing that she talks about often is the reticular activating system, and also known as RAS. So basically what RAS is in your brain, it's the area of your brain that lets only certain information in. And when I say certain, it's typically the stuff that you already agree with. So if you are saying, I am a bad speaker, your brain will start to look for other things that corroborate. Clearly I can't say that today. Your brain will look for other things that agree with that. Did you hear that? That agree with it. So you will just build layer upon layer upon layer of trying to validate the same limiting belief, or not even real belief, that you thought in the first place. Now maybe it is just a limiting belief. Like, let's take that example of, I'm not a good speaker. So, and ironically, coincidentally, that I couldn't say that word, but but that would be like me now saying, oh, I'm not a good speaker. See, I messed up. No, I don't feel that way, but that's what it is. So your brain starts to look for areas that just, again, agree with that limiting belief, whatever it is. Now, the brain will also look for areas and things that will agree with an empowering belief too, because here's the thing. So it controls all of with the visualization, you're creating a memory for the brain, because the brain doesn't know that if you so vividly visualize this thing, maybe this person that you want to be, this thing that you'd like to achieve, the brain will start to look for opportunities to achieve that, because it thinks that you already can through that visualization. It almost thinks that you already have. So I'm going to end with this, but here's what I would love for you to do. And I'm going to do the same thing just because I thought about it this morning. I would love, test it. Test out the theory of visualizing something for 30 seconds. Like, close your eyes. Maybe it's you want a promotion, or you want to run a race, or you want to start a business, or you want to move to wherever. You want to buy a house. Whatever your thing is that you'd like to achieve, close your eyes and think about what that looks like for you. How do you feel? Imagine the setting around you. whether, again, it's the house that you want to move into. How does it feel? How did you decorate it? How do you feel being in that house? What does your life look like now that you're in that house? So just visualize that. What are the colors on the wall? How did you paint it? What pictures? What does your kitchen look like? It could be anything, but spend 30 seconds every day, eyes closed, visualizing that goal. Do it for 30 days, and let's see what happens. Let's come back in 30 days and see what's changed for you. Now, maybe you didn't achieve the goal because the goal is so huge, but maybe you changed your attitude towards it, and now you're willing to step out and chase that particular dream, whatever it is, chase that goal, and you're making strides towards it. Or maybe you achieved the goal. Because, like the Peloton, you kind of don't know until you actually try if you'll be able to. You don't know unless you push yourself. And then, for the things that you thought you couldn't do, all of a sudden, that's not really truth anymore because you did it. So that is my challenge to you. That is what I would love for you to do for the next 30 days. I have a vision board. It's actually right behind me. I look at it, and it's purposely behind me. I'm at my desk in my home office, and I do that because I want to see it every day. I need to see it every day. Remember, motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing. That's why we do it daily. So when you have those moments that you get stuck or you're afraid, stop thinking about the fear and start thinking about the goal and what will help you get there. Because once you come back to what is the activity that you need to do to get there, suddenly now you're not thinking about the fear anymore. You're just thinking about the effort that you need to put out. Now, here's the other thing. Remember, I'll go back to that minor. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and just in the discussion, we were talking about fear and, this kind of thing. And she said it goes back to, if I told you that after 200 items checked off the checklist, you would achieve your goal, would you do it? And of course you would, right? And I want you to think about it like that, because I'm going to bet pretty heavily that 9 times out of 10, you'll reach your goal as long as you don't give up. Not like, oh, it didn't work out the first time I tried for it. It never does. It never does. Please know that. It never does. Okay, maybe like a 0.01% of the time for someone it works out beforehand, but typically not. And if so, they've done a tremendous amount of training, or whatever the case may be, that's appropriate to that goal and for them. But you're not going to be perfect the first time out. But if you keep doing it and keep persisting, I promise you that you will get to that goal. All right, guys. With that, I really encourage, I hope that you do the 30 seconds of visualization for 30 days and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear back what's kind of happening for you, what you found in your results. Maybe if you didn't even think that you had an issue there. So, all right. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.